My biggest decision I ever made is meeting my wife and getting married.
And where did you find your wife?
Not on Tinder. In 16 or 17, about 30% or 40% of all marriages in the United States met on Tinder.
40. Yeah.
Well, I mean, every dating app copied us. We were probably the fastest growing social platform.
From 0 to 50,000 within 3-4 months. Insane.
Yeah. What worked on Tinder, what works on Tinder? Authenticity. We all can smell it when it's fake. I don't think AI is going to have a huge impact on dating. Success is hard and a lot of people can't take it. Success could break you just as much as failure. I built Tinder because I loved it. I loved bringing people together. To me, love is the greatest thing to pursue.
Il y a plein de gens qui pensent que c'est hyper chiant en fait et que c'est un peu une montagne de faire un site alors que non, enfin il y a plein de moyens que ce soit simple.
Lui avec son truc de surfboard là, Rentals, il me dit je vais le faire l'année prochaine.
Ouais, pourquoi tu le fais l'année prochaine, tu peux le faire en 1 heure.
Exactement, en 1 heure sur Squarespace. Et c'est ça la promesse de Squarespace.
Est-ce que c'est pas un mytho ça? Est-ce que c'est sûr que tu peux vraiment le faire en 1 heure ton site même quand t'es ce gars qui a pas de...
Pour être clair, en 1 heure tu vas pas faire ton site finalisé à 100%. En 1 heure tu vas avoir une première version de ton site. Il faut juste comprendre qu'un site c'est jamais fini. Tu vas toujours un peu l'améliorer, tu vas changer des choses, etc. Mais le principal c'est que tu vois la première heure, tu t'es enclenché un truc où tu dis j'ai déjà un truc concrètement qui fonctionne. Parce qu'après il faut quand même écrire des choses.
C'est vraiment si court.
Avec leur outil d'IA, c'est hyper simple.
Si tu sais pas faire un truc beau, si t'as aucun œil graphique, design.
La force et la beauté de Squarespace, le design. Nous on a vu leur bureau, c'est tout ce qu'ils font. Au milieu,
leur bureau c'était un très très gros délire.
Ma boule. Ouais. Accessible et 10% si tu vas avec le code Do It.
Même moi je suis capable de faire un site.
Même moi je suis capable de faire un site.
Non, toi non, toi c'est sûr que non, mais moi je pense que je suis capable.
Donc, vous avez compris, c'est hyper simple. Vous allez sur squarespace.com/doit, vous utilisez ce même code, c'est doit, D-O-I-T, et vous aurez 10% de remise de ma part. Ça fait plaisir. Allez-y maintenant, plus tard, c'est trop tard. What you just say, Sean, boss is overrated.
I think boss is overrated.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's I think people underestimate how much it's a sacrifice to lead something, and it's lonely. It's true.
Yeah. Do you lead something right now?
A lot of things. And it's very lonely.
So you're into sacrifices.
Yeah. Well, are we starting by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not a sacrifice when you love what you're doing, right? That's I think that's the most important thing. But whenever you're venturing off and going after something, you're gonna get hit, you're gonna fall, and the only way you're gonna get back up is if you love what you're doing. Or else it's not worth it.
The thing is that when you love what you're doing, you don't love the whole thing, right? I mean, you love a part of it, you love the idea, you love the mission, but within the whole thing, there are plenty of things you don't love.
I mean, you got to learn to love that too. I think in when you're building something, naturally, founders, I think, gravitate towards one aspect of it, right? And I think part of that is knowing your strengths and weaknesses and working with other people whose strengths complement your weaknesses. But you have to, as a leader, you have to take every part of the system seriously, and you need to care. You need to care about every piece of the business. I think a lot of businesses fail because they, can hone in on one piece of the business, but they can't see the bigger picture.
And you think you can love something you used to hate? I mean, a part of the job?
I mean, no. I think there are. You don't have to love everything you're doing, but I think you have to love the mission and you have to love the job. And every job has, there's parts of the job no one enjoys doing, but you still have to do it. And I think that's responsibility and commitment to your team, to the company, to the mission. So I think if you love the mission, you're there for the right reason. You're going to have the horsepower to continue through the bad times and learn and grow.
How many employees did you manage at the maximum?
About 300 at Tinder.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was fast growing, right?
Oh yeah, very fast. It was a rocket ship, but it was a phenomenal ride.
We're going to talk about that a bit. We're going to talk about many things. Sean Rad, you're the founder of Tinder. Are you married?
I am married.
All right. Where did you find your wife?
Not on Tinder.
I've heard your wife is amazing, so I was wondering if you had a cheat code.
She is amazing. She was on Tinder when we met, but we didn't meet on Tinder.
Too bad. That would have been a great story, though. But maybe I would have thought you had a cheat code.
No.
So you've created one of the most famous dating application of all times. We can say that. Maybe the most famous. My play with Génération Do It Yourself is to get the most from the best. So that's what we're going to do today. Are you ready?
Ready.
Sean, can you introduce yourself?
Sean Rad. I'm the founder of Tinder. Involved in a lot of other things, but I think the thing that most people want to talk about is Tinder.
Okay. Do you want to talk about something else?
No, we talk about anything. I run my family office. We invested in over 100 different companies. I co-founded a few other companies that are doing really well, not in the consumer space, in the biotech space, oddly enough.
All right.
I love building products. I love working on cool projects and solving big problems.
Are you still into products? I mean, hands-on?
Yeah. I mean, in some of the things that even investments, like I'll tend to sometimes sort of even get into Figma. And I design Tinder. I'm a designer. My passion is products. My passion is, sort of bringing together, orchestrating the different aspects that sort of build a company and build a product. And that's, I always have a product-centric approach to everything I do. My belief is you solve problems by building great products, and marketing, everything is a function to serve the product. And everything starts with building a truly great product and understanding your users. And there's no substitute for that.
Tinder is a truly great product, right? Is it only?
I think we did a lot of special things.
Yeah, it's true. What were they? I mean, everybody talks about the swipe function, right? Is it the only thing?
No. Tinder started with this obsession I had that we could use the phone to bring us closer to the real world. Which is
not, working all the time. Sometimes the phone is a problem for 100%, the real world.
100%. Right? I mean, we saw it very early. When we started Tinder, the iPhone had just come out. And I noticed among my friends, there are a lot of times when we're like this and we're not interacting with the real world. But to me, it's like you have the most powerful computer in your pocket. The opportunities to enhance the world, to enhance our relationships in real life was the thing that I was really obsessed with. And one of, I think it dawned on me one day as I was thinking about this, I was in a restaurant with my friends. And I think one of the biggest challenges people have is you might see someone going about your life. You could be a college student, you could be at work, you might have an interest in someone, but going up to them and starting a conversation or even going as far as expressing your interest it's a very anxiety provoking thing to do, right? You're afraid you might get rejected. So the vision of Tinder was, what if the phone did that for me? What if I could tell the phone that there's someone in the room that I have interest in? And the phone,
it's like the good friend who goes, "Hey, I think he likes you," right?
Exactly.
But the problem, this friend sometimes makes you uncomfortable too, right?
That's true. Well, so and Tinder removed the uncomfort because the other person doesn't know if I like them unless they also like me back.
I see.
So that was the core innovation of Tinder, was what we call the double opt-in.
Because before this double opt-in, on regular dating app, it was very different. It was a single opt-in. It was like
anyone could message anyone.
Matt likes you, right?
Yeah.
And do you like him back? And it's like,
in the dating products back then were the equivalent of amplifying this fear of rejection, because I could message anyone and I'd message a bunch of people and I'd never get a response. And those dating products were on my computer. So not only I would never get a response, if I'd get a response, it would be when someone came home or they were behind their computer, which wasn't. So when you have that computer with you and you created a paradigm shift and you have location and you understand so much more about the user, you could create new opportunities. And that was the thing we were focused on back then with Tinder, is like, how can we take this phone and how can we enhance social connectivity? How can we break down the barriers that prevent people from coming together or meeting or expressing their interest?
Did you design that because you understood that problem before?
Yes.
Or you designed it, you knew this was a discomfort, so you...
Yeah, no, I think it definitely felt the problem, knew the problem, saw it amongst all my friends, even my friends who were like Casanova and, that's another thing. Most dating products before Tinder were seen as like something you do when you failed in the real world to some extent.
Yeah, it's true.
But we launched Tinder in the most social environment, colleges, where, because we weren't solving an issue of time or anything like that. We were solving a very core human issue. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be Casanova, or you could be a shy person, but that fear or the complexity of kind of getting past the hello and to the point where we're interested in each other, there was a lot of psychology and barriers that went to that. Physical barriers, emotional barriers. And our vision was like, let's remove that. If we can remove that, then we can bring the world closer together.
Where did that come from, Sean? I mean, were you into dating? Were you into... where did that mission came to you?
It's a good question. I mean, look, I think it's a combination of a variety of factors. Passion for mobile.
All right.
I was single and reflecting myself on how can I be better at attracting someone. It was passion for psychology, which I always had, passion for communication. Every company I created before Tinder had some element of digital communication and kind of bringing people together. So it was always in the air. Now, the eureka moment, there was a eureka moment, but like anything, there was the craft, there was the iteration, there was the, designing it, feeling it, changing it, those sensibilities. And I think every product goes through an evolution. There was a clear vision with Tinder, and there was a clear problem we wanted to solve. Literally the first, before we did anything, we had all the designs. I designed it myself in Photoshop. I sort of put together the UX, the business plan, everything. That stood the test of time. That's still the way Tinder works today. But it's all the nuance and all the detail in figuring out how to bring this to market and how to scale the product. But there were many insights. So the double opt-in was one insight. Another insight was, when you sign up to dating products back then, by the way, no one on the team had ever used a dating product prior to Tinder. I just want to point that out. It's funny. And we used to laugh about it because the reason we never used
it's not a shame. You can say it if you did.
No. There's no shame with it. But the reason we didn't, this is the funny part, is because their onboarding process was so horrible that it was like the equivalent. We used to say like walking into a bar and like having my resume taped on my head. You would get asked questions like, "Are you a smoker? Are you not a smoker? Do you want to date?" And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I smoke. I might have a socially. And how is that even relevant to me meeting someone? So it was just like a, dating products were non-existent prior to Tinder. There were horrible directories. They didn't really solve any real problems. They arguably made problems worse. They made you feel worse about yourself. We started Tinder from first principles. It wasn't about let's build a better dating product. It was about how can we bring people together and remove those barriers, and starting from first principles and working upwards. And that really, I think that's how every company should be started. It's like if you're reacting to another company or you're reacting to something else, then you're not independently thinking about the customer and what are the problems you want to solve. So Tinder, we got that right in the early days.
It's a good way of creating. I mean, if you don't start with trying to change something, but just to solve the problem. But still, I mean, there were some platforms like Match.com. In France, we had a Meetic that were still better than
nothing
before the web, right? It was a desktop applications, or not even application, but websites. We'll talk later on. I'm sure you've thought about that, about the implication of AI and what's going to change, because obviously it's going to be something big.
Of course.
But before we talk about this, how did it start? I mean, how did you get the first two people to meet on Tinder? Because it takes, I mean...
Well, what's unique about Tinder is it's a network-based product, right? So it doesn't work unless people are on it and unless people are engaging, and it's a marketplace. And it's very hard to get, getting social networking type products to work are very difficult. Getting marketplaces to work, because you have these two sides to have to come together at the same time, are very hard. And in Tinder's case, it was even harder because we were a local product.
Yeah.
So, it's if someone signs up in Paris, it has no value to someone in Los Angeles. So what we did is we started focusing on where are there pockets of people who sort of know each other and are connected, but maybe are not expressing their interest for each other, and can we see if the product works in that environment? And honestly, that just started with us and our friends. We built the product for ourselves. We sent it to all of our friends to start using.
Here in LA?
Here in LA.
What age were you?
I think I was 26.
Okay.
So pretty relatively young. And then actually it's funny because we're like, wait, some of our friends who know each other are now dating. Like they previously never put two and two together. So it's clear, like, oh wow, this product works. Our thesis is playing out. And then one of our interns who was in college at USC was their friend was having a party, and it was big party on campus. And we just went to his friend and we said, why don't we'll pay for your birthday party. We'll throw everything. Let us change it to a venue where you can invite more people. But under one condition, no one gets in the door unless they have Tinder installed in their phone. So we literally had bouncers at the door, making sure that you can't get in. Tinder was your ticket.
Did you calculate the cost per installation?
Per installation? No, we weren't that sophisticated back then.
Guerrilla marketing, that's what they call it.
Yeah. And that worked. And the next day, you had, let's say, I think the party, there was 500 people at the party. The next day, a bunch of people woke up and they're like, what is this app on my phone? And then started seeing people that are at the party. Nice. Right. And then started making connections. And then we just kept replicating that in every place and every way we can, whether it was on college campuses and having, working with what we would call reps to have them throw events and, Tinder sponsored events. And in every market, right when we would get to about 10,000 users, which was like a knife fight, the product would just take a mind of its own and go viral. And so we, Tinder, it was always like we had to create that initial push, but the product was inherently viral.
Is 10,000 the minimum? Because I'm thinking if you swipe in a certain category, I look for women in between 35 and 45 maybe. I mean, out of 10,000, there is maybe a couple of 100. I don't know. Then it's pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it doesn't go as quick as you think. 10,000 in a market was, enough content for you to stay on the product for a while. But the product was inherently viral because you would see someone on Tinder, you might screenshot and share the profile with your friend, you might tell your friends about the date that you went on. People were proud to be on Tinder because it's cool, it was fun. We weren't Match.com, we weren't eHarmony that's trying to get you to get married. We were just saying, hey, we're connecting you with someone else, and whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. Whether you want to date, get married, be friends, hook up, we didn't discriminate. We always saw ourselves in the business of creating a match. And what comes out of that was not our place to tell our users what to do or how, what you're going to make out of a relationship. It's up to every individual.
But why was it so cool? Is it because you started at those parties? Is it because of the design?
The product, the name, the 100% the product. I mean, again, I go back to like, marketing is useless if you don't have something good to sell.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, if you have something good to sell and you can't market it, then that thing is useless as well. But the core, the impetus, the reason Tinder succeeded was the product was fun. It was effective. It worked. It was easy. And it was, nothing like it exist, right? And it solved real issues, right? It wasn't.
I mean, it's not a real issue. It's like the most important issue when you're like probably under 30 or.
Yeah, definitely when you're under 30, but I would argue your whole life. I think who you choose to be romantically involved with is probably the biggest decision of your life. My biggest decision I ever made is meeting my wife and getting married. And I think most people will look back and say, marriage, kids, these are some of the most consequential moments and memories, friendships, love. To me, love was always, still is the greatest thing to pursue. I think it's the greatest product in the world, so to say. There is no greater feeling. There is no greater high. And that's why everything for me, it sounds corny, but it starts with love. Even entrepreneurship starts with love. Like, are you building something because you really love that product, love the problem, you want to solve it for yourself? It's about giving to your community, giving to others. It's about love and sharing. Or, are you starting it because you want to make a lot of money and you want to, serve your ego? Both of them are good fuel, right? Like, both of them can drive you, but the passion and love will take you way farther. And so even it's a, core thesis when I invest, I think the first thing I look for is founder product fit, even before product market fit. Does the team really, really love, like, are they building this out of a place of purpose and duty and passion and obsession?
How do you make sure?
You see it in people's eyes. You hear their story. I mean, for me, I built Tinder because I loved it. I loved the problem. I loved bringing people together. There was no greater pursuit. And I loved mobile. And I loved the team. And I loved consumer. I studied consumer. I was obsessed. How can you build? I loved social networks. It was purely a product of passion. And I think it's consistent for every great entrepreneur, right? There's the seed of passion, and every great team member. Our number one metric for recruiting and hiring at Tinder was measuring your passion for the company and your passion for the job. Because I saw very early that a passionate person will outperform a dispassionate person who's more experienced. So you could be
100%.
You could be 10 times more experienced and have no passion. And I'd rather pick the person with no experience and a lot of passion and drive, because this person's going to learn. This person's going to fill the gaps. They're going to work hard. They're going to be a team player. They're there for the mission. And this person is just, there for the 9 to 5 and not there to build and do great work.
Yeah, definitely. I want to work for Shanrad, I think. Tell me your next venture. You'll let me know. No, it's very inspiring. And you started so early. You dropped out USC?
Yeah.
At like, what, 18?
I started my first... No, I didn't drop out of U. I started my first company when I was going into USC around 18. And then I ended up dropping out of college to build that business. And then I went back to college for a semester, and then I dropped out again to build the next one. I dropped out twice. And then later...
And they gave you the master's degree, right?
And I got an honorary degree much later in my life, which was awesome because I got a free degree. I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, you're good. Congratulations. So, it must have been fun. I mean, how hard is that decision? I've read your parents are immigrants, right?
Yes.
So they arrived in the US in the 70s?
My parents came here towards the late 70s. They left Iran because they were being persecuted for being Jewish. They're Jewish. They left. They came here. They came here with nothing. And my dad and mom came here with $20 in their pocket. They had to build from scratch. And you know, it's very fucked up. And this is true for a lot of immigrants coming to America at that time. They had a big business back in Iran. They had to leave it all. They had to leave their house, their business, their money.
And then they send you to university, and then you drop.
And then I dropped out. Yeah, I honored them by dropping out.
No,
it was really hard. They didn't. Oh man, I remember when I dropped out. My mom wanted to kill me, but I finally convinced her. And then I remember one day, like there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about one of my companies, and I was like so excited. I'm like, this is awesome, and I show it to my mom, and she's like, that's great, but when are you going back to school? And I'm like, come on. I just raised money and it's in the Wall Street Journal. Like I'm 18. This is pretty cool. Give me a shot. But
was she around when you had your diploma?
Yes.
Okay.
I called her out when I at USC when I did the commencement speech, and they gave me an honorary degree.
This is cute.
It was fun. I mean, they were very supportive. I couldn't have done what I've done without the support of my parents and many people. But definitely that was one decision that was hard for them to accept. Or maybe a lot of things I've done. But
you'll tell me how hard is that. But they arrived about 10 years before you were born, right?
They arrived, just about 10 years before I was born.
So how did it go for them here in the US?
Really well. I mean, they're successful. They built a new business. I grew up watching them build their business.
What was it?
They're in the business of buying and selling and manufacturing consumer electronics.
Okay.
Very like brick and mortar manufacturing business.
Were you implicated?
What do you mean?
I mean, did you do stuff? Did you work with them?
I worked there when I was 16 for 3 months. And for better or for worse, I was like, I don't like the way you guys do things. I'm out of here. Like, I'm going to go do my own thing. I was always drumming to my own beat. But I always knew I wanted to build something. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I think that was growing up in my dinner table conversations were work because my parents worked with each other. My mom and dad were partners, and, our family gatherings were a lot of the time conversation would shift to work. So
did you like it?
It's the pros and cons. I think looking back, it's pretty cool to be so young and get exposed to these types of conversations because you learn a lot. I probably had like a mini MBA by the time. Yeah. I picked up a lot of lessons that I think helped me get going as an entrepreneur, and I learned business even outside of school. Maybe to a certain extent why I didn't need school, because I was learning every day from my parents. And then learning out in the real world. The 1 semester, the 1 year, or actually I think it was 2 years in total that I was in at USC, was still very valuable. It's a wonderful school. Took away a lot of lessons, but I always just felt like I was able to achieve more and learn more, in my case, not true for everyone, out there in the field doing, and teach myself. I would read a lot. I had mentors. I would learn. Like I was like a sponge. Anything I didn't understand, I would learn as quickly as possible and put into play.
But there were not that many resources online at the time as today, right? YouTube didn't exist, or
no,
barely. Yeah. How did you? I mean, did you learn about design? And I've read you've been honored by creativity prizes and stuff like this. Where does it come from? I mean,
design. So I think it came out of, first of all, it was a frustration because I always had ideas in here and I couldn't get it out because I didn't understand how to use Photoshop, or, now everyone uses Figma or Sketch back then. And I just taught myself a lot of, it would be friends. So, even at Tinder, I wasn't the best technical designer, but I would sit next to our designers and I'd be learning from them all day. When I started my first company, I learned from the team. As much as I was, setting the strategy and running the show, I always saw it as like, I'm also here to learn. And I always wanted to surround myself with people who can teach me, and are stronger than me, so I can walk out stronger. And there are some areas where I wanted to hone in on my skills too and get better. And design, user experience, product was always that for me, because it's so essential to building any business. I don't care what kind of, you can be in a services based business and having product design mindset is going to make that business and that experience better. So I think there's a lot. It's a great skill to have as an entrepreneur, is know how to design product, run a product process, and there's a lot of discipline that comes out of product and design.
I've recorded recently with that guy, French entrepreneur called Stanislas Nyok-Chateau. He's leading it's a 5 billion worth company called Doctolib. It's around doctors taking appointments, and he got back from CEO to CEO plus CPO after 10 years, and he's obsessed, and he's meeting doctors like twice a week, and he's obsessed with the product, and I think it was very inspiring.
That's where, to me, greatness comes. I mean, you look at Steve Jobs, you look at any of the greats, look at Elon Musk, look at Mark Zuckerberg, people who've built these scalable businesses. They're great business people, but they are also great craftsmen, right? They care about the product. They're learning how to be a great contributor to the team, not just a leader of the team.
Yeah, they're even more craftsmen. I mean, not also, I would say, to my opinion, right?
Yeah,
that's their
they're the ultimate
skill.
Craftsman.
Yeah. Interesting. When did you find out you could be an ultimate craftsman? If you did,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'd call myself that. I don't know if I've earned those stripes. But it was just like where I naturally gravitated. First out of frustration. Like I would sit with a designer and be like, okay, this is what I'm imagining. And then they would do it. And I'm like, no, that's not, you didn't get it right. And then I had to partially get better at explaining and, running a process and giving them room to grow as designers. And then I also had to hone in on my skill and become a designer. And I guess I learned that was one area when it came to user experience and design. A lot of other areas, running the business, of course, and marketing and leadership, but I love design. I mean, I always tell people, it's like, show me your product and I'll tell you everything about the team and the company. right? It's I'm sure, like, you know, if you're an artist and you look at someone's art, it's like it tells a story. When you understand the craft, like you see the details and it reveals something about the artist. And then the same thing is true for a company. You look at their company, you look at their product, and it reveals a story about the company and what they value and what they prioritize. So a lot comes out of product and design.
You were talking about user experience, right? And product design. Have you heard about this post from Paul Graham about founders mode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think everyone's heard about founders mode.
Everybody's been talking about that in San Francisco. We were. So I didn't say actually. We're actually in Los Angeles. So we were in your town in the Sofitel suite. Thanks, Sofitel, for your welcoming us here. What's your approach on that? Because I've been really, in the past 10 years, I've had experienced designers working for me, UX designers, and they were all about, you know, studying and like getting a lot of metrics. And sometimes things were just, you know, pragmatism, like just, I mean, at some point, this is obvious. We don't have, I don't need 10 studies for that.
Yep.
How did you work?
Look, I think when you're first principles driven, put aside the titles, when you're actually being practical is, to me, you can't be an entrepreneur without being practical or resourceful. And, you know, there is a risk of being too academic in life. And if intelligence alone built great companies, you'd have a lot more great companies. Because, you know, I know a lot of very smart people who were unsuccessful in companies. Like, I also know some people who might not be the smartest, but they have the magic and the intuition to sort of create and bring people together. So I think this thing about founder mode, you know, I think, first of all, it's nothing new, right? I think it's like common sense, but, you know, Paul Graham gave it a name. So maybe it gives permission for people to there. But to me, like, just because you're a founder doesn't mean you're great. Just because you're great doesn't mean you're a founder. There are, you know, some of the most brilliant leaders, you know, in a company who scaled a business and reinvented the business. They were not the founders of the business.
True.
But I think in both cases, whether you belong to a founder class or a managerial class, success requires passion, care, innovation, risk-taking. And those attributes you could have if you're a founder, or you could have if you're the 100th employee. So, you know, I don't, the word founder is a big word, sorry. And I identify as a founder, and I am founder multiple times over, but, I am not who I am because I was a founder. And being a founder does not give me permission to be a bad businessman. Like,
to be a dick.
To be a dick. And being a founder doesn't mean I'm always right. Right. So I think, you know, it's an interesting concept. Can it be misused and misinterpreted and an excuse for bad operators to say I'm right because I'm a founder? It's like, look, at Tinder, you know, we had and I think this is essential, a very honest, a very open, and a very meritocratic culture. I refused to be right because I was the boss. I was looking for the right answer no matter where it was coming from. And rank was a construct that was irrelevant, right? The best ideas come from everywhere. And if you're able to defend your ideas, you're able to inspire, you know, that's how you are right, not because you have some title, whether it's founder or VP or CEO. it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're the right person for the job. And what matters is you have the attributes needed to push the company forward.
My question is about the swipe actually function and design. The idea behind was that, that sentence that Henry Ford say, if I had asked the clients what they would want, they would say, I'd want 2 more horses on my carriage. And I don't know what would have said your customers or your users if you would have asked them what they want.
Yeah.
But, probably not a swipe function, right?
No.
No. So that has to come from someone, right? Was that you?
Yeah. Oh no. The double opt-in, the design, the swipe I contributed to, but it was John Badine, our co-founder.
Okay.
And it's a funny story because Tinder was always in the early days. It was like a stack of photos that then with a heart button and an X button.
So that was the first version.
Yeah, the first version was
no
a stack.
Swipe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first version didn't have a swipe, but it had the like, it had the X, and when you liked, the card would move in one direction or move in another direction. And John kept noticing, when he was using, he's like, he kept wanting to like touch it. Like, cause on mobile, right. We can drag and we can touch things. It was very tactile, but so one day he's like, hey, I want to, create this thing where I could grab it and swipe it. I noticed users are doing that. We were still very early then. And I was like, great, love it. Like he and I both had like a deep passion for user experience. I mean, a lot of the stuff we designed was unnecessary I would say not practical, but we wanted to do it because we kept trying to push the limit of mobile design and mobile experience, like crazy animations. And so he wanted to do that. I was like, how long is it going to take? He's like, probably 2 weeks. I was like, forget it. We don't have time. We have other priorities. And then again, passion. He came 2 days later. He's like, I did it over the weekend. Here it is. It's in the app. And I'm like, fantastic. Launch it. And we had no clue how that would become an iconic.
Yeah. I mean, if even when I listen to you, I'm like, I mean, if it was 2 buttons, like a red, a green, same shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point. But no, I mean, everybody talks about the swipe.
Yeah. It was, the swipe was a user interaction. It wasn't the product, right? But it's a great example of how user experience matters. Because you could make the argument that if Tinder wasn't fast because of the swipe made the experience faster, then maybe we wouldn't have scaled to the point that we did. We still would have been very successful, but would it have been as successful? It's like, in Google, milliseconds matter to get your results.
That's true.
And milliseconds could be the difference between creating value and not creating value. In our case, milliseconds in the user experience made a difference between someone finding love and not finding love.
Was it patterned?
Was
swipe?
it what? Patented? Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. The swipe was patented. The double opt-in was patented. We not that we ever did anything with the patents, but we always protected our IP.
Okay, because I have to share something with you. I used to run a digital agency back in Paris, and we made design for some of our clients within the groceries industry. And I've always dreamt, because I've never used Tinder, so I was really frustrated. And so I dreamt doing my groceries like on Tinder mode. You see what I'm saying? Milk, no.
Put it in my shopping cart.
Yeah, and that was, my Tinder life, right? So
yeah,
that's sad. It would have been good, but we didn't sell it at the end. But I was a bit even more frustrated. I think it's a good idea. Have you ever seen any product using the swipe thing? Yeah.
Well, I mean, every dating app copied us.
Yeah. So, but out of the dating world, successful. I mean.
No, I think it made the most sense in the context of dating. there are shopping examples. You know, you gave one. There is a very very successful Tinder for shopping.
I think it would work.
Product, yeah. Actually, multiple people tried the Tinder for shopping. And there's a new app that just launched that actually has gone right, and they're getting a lot of traction recently. This is, 12 years after Tinder launched. So, I guess it stood the test of time.
And did you, sue the other dating company that are using? No, okay.
No. I mean, it's, we always had this belief, which I think a lot of technology companies do, that you win through innovation. You don't win through,
suing people,
protecting IP. Now, there are cases where you should protect your IP, so I'm not against that. But I think when it comes to competitors and winning, I always would say, like, I don't care about our competitors. I care about our users. Our competitors are irrelevant. We can learn from them. Great. It's like free product development. If they do something we like, thank you very much. Loves and vice versa. Yeah. They can learn from us. And that's the beauty of competition. We push each other to get better. But Tinder still is the leader by a long shot. I mean, we dominate the space globally.
How comes?
We built the best product. Simple.
When did you understand it was going to be that big?
I always look at, people talk a lot about product market fit.
Yeah.
Right? It's a big concept. Product market fit is my product being received well by consumers, and is it working? To me, product market fit is not like a moment in time. It's not something that you have or you don't have in definitively. It's moments in time. So first, product market, it was like product friends fit. Did my friends like it? Would my friends use it? And that we got right away, right? It worked with my friends. Then it was like product one layer beyond that. My friends, are they liking it? Then it was like, okay, Los Angeles. Does Los Angeles like it? Then it was like, does California like it? Then it became more cities. Then it became Paris. Paris was one of our early cities. Then it's like, okay, can it work? Yeah, Paris was very, very early. We came to France.
But was it on purpose? I mean, did you have some cities or regions that were just popping from nowhere?
Yes and no. We did have regions it was a little bit of a push-pull. So sometimes you'd have users here in California who then would go to Paris, and then somehow it would just light up in Paris. And then we would create a team to back it up. Sometimes it was a function of, one of our community reps has a friend in another city who wants to work for Tinder, and that's a talented person. So we were like, great, go, you can launch the city. And then sometimes it was strategic. We knew, we need to conquer this territory because there's a lot of value there. And then we would full court press focus on that territory. So it was a little bit top down, a little bottoms up. And that's how we kept growing.
Did you fail on some territories?
In the beginning, yes. In the long run, no. So I think India was a market that was and China. For some reason, it was like the whole world, and then India and China were different. And maybe Korea to some extent. And part of the reasons were that those markets had different culture around dating. So for example, at the time in India, it was, you sort of, the way you predominantly would meet someone is through your parents, through familiar connections. It wasn't really common that you would meet someone at work or in college, like that was frowned upon. Now, Tinder changed that and kind of gave the power to people in their own hands. And then in like Korea, it was more common that you would go on group dates. Like the first date was always me, someone I like, with her friend and one of my friends, right? It's not as common to sort of go out on a date one-on-one on the first date. So there's all these like cultural nuances.
Could have some family validation.
Right. So
Yeah.
so we
Brothers,
would evolve
cousins.
the product, right? And Tinder, the core product globally is the same, but around the edges, more than just language, there is localization and us adhering to different cultures and different learnings. And again, very iterative, very listening to our users, bottoms up. What is it that they want? And
You've seen that moving graphic recent, how the dating evolved in the past 100 years, no? I've seen
Which
that
one? I've seen a
with
few.
something like you see year after year after year, and it goes like family, friends, and then college dates, and then going out, and then you get web apps, and then
Tinder.
and, boom, and then it goes like 50% is online now, more than 50%, I believe.
It's definitely more than 50%. I think at some point we did a study when I was at Tinder to try to figure out how many real world relationships did we drive. And I think, so we commissioned an independent study and we found that in that year, I think this was 2016 or 17, about 30% or 40% of all marriages in the United States met on Tinder.
40.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And globally, in different leading markets, it was similar.
That was 2017, you said.
2017, I believe that was 2016 or 17.
Well, and you started in 2012, like mid 2012.
We started early at the end of 2012, early 2013.
So that's like 3-4 years.
Yeah. We started. Actually, sorry, no. We started.
I've read it was September 2012.
Yes, September 2012 is when we went into the App Store and pushed it to our friends, and it started growing in Los Angeles. And then, for some perspective, by January 2013, I think we had 150,000 active users. And the crazy thing is, in December 2012, we had like 50,000 users. So we were growing insanely fast. Like if you charted our growth rate in a period, we would have reached like 1 billion users in a year.
Wow.
So it was, Tinder doesn't get credit for this, but we were probably the fastest growing social platform.
I mean, from 0 to 50,000 within 3-4 months is insane. But when you just think from 0 to 40% of the weddings, marriages in the US
in a few years,
in 4 or 5 years, my God, it's literally insane.
Yeah.
It has to be a good product, because if it's not, then it's wrong marriages.
We wouldn't have. We have to earn that. You can't buy that. You got to earn. Those results?
Did you receive some flowers, champagne, or some stuff, some presents sometime?
I've gotten invited to more weddings than I could probably ever attend in a lifetime. Still to this day. I mean, it's actually the greatest. I mean, honestly, the greatest feeling, and it never gets old. I've
ever been to one? Just
no.
You should, just for fun.
I almost went to one, but I kind of felt like, oh, this is unfair if I go to one and I don't go to others. So just have like a rule: I'll go to none.
That's fun. We were talking with Clemence, preparing this, about the data you must have. I mean, the crazy data you must have, the uncommon things. Can you give us some example? I mean, we're thinking about, okay, go ahead.
Well, so not something too specific, but I can make a generalization that I think we all know to be true, or maybe we all know to be true. I think when you are authentic and real, you have a better chance of attracting someone. At the same time, if you notice someone else's authenticity, you can pick out something unique about them, or, really pay attention, really care. You also
this is true.
Yes. So you also have a chance. So what worked on Tinder, what works on Tinder, authenticity, being real, because we all can smell it when it's fake.
So
right?
Not being perfect.
That
works better. If you don't look perfect, then...
Yep. I think it's kind of, and I think it's true for life. I mean, perfection is an illusion. Honesty, yeah, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I think the striving for perfection is the wrong goal. Striving for honesty and authenticity is, I think, where people really thrive in life.
Okay. Were there, I mean, out of these data, unexpected the metrics, I don't know, ages matches. I mean, I would say men matches with younger women. Is that true? Or I don't know. Have you made some hair colors, red hair, or I don't know.
We never went that deep into those sociological understandings. We had a few sociologists who worked at the company. I'm one of the things I've always been passionate about is sociology, psychology. So, there was this desire to study, but it was mostly focused on studying the interactions around the platform and how people connect and how people meet. Less so who wants to be with who, because algorithmically the product, we designed algorithms that figure that out computationally and do that well. Tinder was like pre-TikTok, pre-Reels, and pre-using AI to understand what people want to see. Tinder was the first, right? The first to say, there is no follow graph. How can I figure out who you're going to like? Or in social media's case, what content you're going to like. So Tinder really pioneered that. We were giving you one person at a time that you'd have to make a decision on. And that user experience produced a lot of data that then we can use on behalf of the user to make their experience better and help you find someone you're going to like. So Tinder got smarter and smarter and smarter the more you used it. And that wasn't easy to do because, if at one point, if I'm here and I open the app, there are millions of users just within a mile around me. How do we determine who to show you first? It's a very complicated task. You have millions of possibilities. Who are we going to show you first?
And I believe there are also questions of goals. I mean, I don't know if your goal is retention. Do you want me to stay on the app, or do you want me to find the right person in seconds?
Our goal, and I was very intentional at setting this as the goal at the company. Our goal is value, and value is a real world relationship. Before that ultimate value, there could be a conversation in the app, but we never had a problem if like you met someone on day 5 of Tinder. Like that's a great problem to have. That means we're so fucking good at what we're doing that like if I can snap my fingers and get you married, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, 500 euros.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. How much would you pay?
Yeah, maybe 50, right? Actually,
exactly.
If it's the perfect match.
Exactly. So for us, it was always about driving value and believing that people would pay for value. So, if we ever got to some magical moment where I exactly knew who your wife is, or I knew who your husband is, right? Like, great. Then our business model might be come and say, hey, pay me money and I'll reveal the answer to you. So, for us, it was never about retention, although Tinder's retention metrics were off the chart. Yeah. I mean, in the early days, like if you look at all of our monthly active users, 90% of them were opening the app every single day.
90%.
Yeah. And I think, if you look at probably Instagram, you look at their monthly actives, probably 60 to 70% would open the app every single day. So Tinder and our user sessions, I mean, the amount of time people spend on Tinder is equal to social media.
Once again, it's I mean, the main problem they had to solve, right?
Yes.
Probably. So
yeah, once you're single, I think that's when you're single, that's sort of top of mind, all you care about, or most of what you care about. But Again, session time retention does not equal value.
The complexity is so deep because you were saying, who should you show me?
Mm-hmm.
But if you show me the right person that I will like, but none of them will like me back, that's wrong. I mean,
that would be a bad experience.
It doesn't work. I'll feel very bad. I'll feel like I liked everyone.
Exactly. So it's a multi-directional AI challenge because it's not just about who you want, it's about who would also want you back.
Plus maybe you have to show me some people I don't want because it makes me feel I don't like everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of psychology in it. So Tinder, no one ever, the product is so simple, but what it took to actually make that product scale and work was anything but simple. We hit new challenges as we scaled. We had to reinvent so many times to keep the growth going. And that's why I say there is no such thing as product market fit. Product market fit at a moment in time, but then you hit new challenges and you need to redefine the product to keep scaling. Things change around you, society changes, culture changes. So product market fit is an ongoing battle. It's not just you have it or you don't, you have to keep it.
What did you do good and bad on scaling? Because this was, as we said, insane.
Look, we won in the end. So whatever we did, good or bad, resulted in a win. A win is a win. I think, look, there are thousands of mistakes we made. Every day we would make mistakes. And it was always the attitude we had was always that like failure is okay as long as we're learning. As long as we're honest about it and then we put it to good use. And look, that's true for life and true for all businesses. You grow from adversity and failure. If it's a straight line to success, there's no growth, right? There's no learning. So you want a culture, and we had a culture where we would try things. And if they worked, amazing. And if they didn't work, that was okay too, as long as we studied why and we were able to leverage that into the next thing. So never, as they say, never let a crisis go to waste, never let a failure go to waste. So more than just specific examples is that attitude that we had.
That was what you were from, 28 to 36?
26 to probably 31 when I left.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Were you like completely rinsed? Can you say that? Completely tired, exhausted? Or?
Look, I think you've built a business. You guys, it takes a lot out of you. It's going to war, and you could come out of it with PTSD sometimes. I've had my moments when I'm just completely in the corner crying. Like,
really? Literally?
Not literally, metaphorically. But like always would get back up and fight and pursue on. By the time I left, was I exhausted? No. I still had so much fight in me and I was ready to go and I was ready to build the next thing. And continue innovating. And to some extent, even I think the most difficult thing, particularly when it comes to Tinder, is to still to this day, many, many years later, have ideas every day. I'm like, oh, we should do this to the product, but I'm not there. So
still, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very hard because it's like you birth something and then you're looking at it from afar and you're like, ugh, I wouldn't have done that. Most of the early team is not at Tinder. The first probably 100 employees are no longer there, which is a tragedy. But definitely maybe in that sense, you've lost a little founder mode.
Yeah.
Or at least care or desire to innovate and take risks and push forward.
I can feel your passion. you really need to get on something new, like with some of the guys. I mean, like one focus probably.
No, I have. Believe me, I have. My plate is full with things, projects that I'm
projects, as you said, plural, right?
Yeah.
Don't you need one? An obsession?
You know, I think my journey as an entrepreneur has always been one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, sometimes the next thing comes and you still have the previous thing, and you find yourself in a position where I'm doing multiple things. And then I had to learn how to do multiple things well. And then you get to a point where, you know, okay, I can't be full in onto one thing. So you have to learn how to lead in a different way, lead leaders, I guess. And I've always seen that as a great opportunity to level up and to learn new challenges. And, you know, I still build products. I'm building one right now with a small team that I'm really passionate about, that we're going to launch, that I think will change a lot for people, change the world. Also exploring a new idea in AI. So I'm constantly learning and constantly building.
Okay, I want to get to that. Before, maybe, you had your, I mean, just not yourself, but your controversies around Tinder, right? In the past, lawsuits and conflicts.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? Is it just part of when you go into big games that happens, or?
Yeah, I mean, look.
And how did you live them? I mean, this must have been very.
Maybe the emotional side is, you know, anything, any person. You know, it's like Icarus. The closer you get to the sun, you're going to get burnt, right? But sometimes those things are a rite of passage, meaning, again, no one's perfect. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably not taking risks. And to me, it's about how you react. Do you pause, learn, correct your mistakes, take accountability and responsibility, or do you blame it on others? I'm happy to say we've had our moments. I've learned at every step. I've had moments where I've been backstabbed by friends. I've been, you know, backstabbed by partners. We've had to sue them. We've had to fight for our rights. And I think you learn in all those moments. So yeah, in the moment, sometimes they are hard, but now having been through so many moments, I don't get fazed. If something happens, I know to look at it and have a belief that I'm going to get through this and approach it with a level of curiosity, objectivity. And like, I just know every new challenge, like every time in my life I have faced, and I think this is true for everyone if they really think about it, any time in my life I have faced big adversity or a big challenge, there was another thing that followed it that was a big breakthrough. So I have this belief that like when you're going through pain, it's almost like your soul is getting ready for the next breakthrough. It's a process of growth. And so I think entrepreneurs are intuitively good at this, that like you get knocked down, you learn, you get back up, and you try harder. And they say no pain, no gain. And I think there's a truth to that. Or as, you know, Elon Musk says, like entrepreneurship is chewing glass and staring into the abyss. I think that's true. But what is also true is that like your eye is on the abyss. You're kind of ignoring the chewing of the glass because it's worth it. Because you love what you're doing and you're powering through. That's why I say, if you have no passion, if you don't have a passionate team, they will crumble in these moments. We've had some of the toughest moments. I've personally had some of the toughest moments. The only way I got through was optimism and passion.
What was the toughest moment?
Toughest moments, I mean, look, when Tinder merged, I don't want to get into, it's a longer story. You could read about it.
Yeah, online,
it's written. You know, the moments where we had to, the early team, the founders had to sue another bigger company. And, you know, that was a really hard moment because I felt really betrayed. but also was an empowering moment because I also learned a lot about myself, that I'm going to protect what's right and I'm going to fight for the truth and I'm going to risk it and fight for justice. And I'm not afraid to do that. And then we had moments like in the early days of Tinder where, you know, we were growing so fast that at 8:00, the server would just stop working. Like everything would just stop working. And, you know, nighttime was our most popular. Everyone would kind of leave work and start swiping. And we were like built on prototype code. And we were like almost like an airplane flying at Mach 1 while we're rebuilding the engine. And there were a lot of moments where, I mean, no matter how much we tried to scale, we couldn't keep up with the next wave of scale. So, you know, there were definitely moments where success was almost scary. Like, holy shit, we're going to lose this all. We can't keep the servers alive. We can't hire fast enough to solve this problem. But what's also interesting is that I learned is there's something really beautiful about having limited resources because it forces you to prioritize and get creative, right? Like money usually isn't the reason startups fail or succeed. I think it's a huge fallacy. If money was the reason startups fail or succeed, then all big companies would create everything new. So it's something different. It's prioritization. It's creativity. It's learning how to build a house out of sticks. That resourcefulness, right? That like you can only truly force yourself to have when you're small and have no resources and have nothing. Because then you have to really get creative and really push hard.
Insane. The question I have is how do you get that resilience? I mean, on those hard moments, a lot of people, I mean, still crumble. I mean, they don't have the strength psychologically to wake up or what. These were big moments for you. I mean,
for me, again, it sounds corny. It was always love.
Right.
Love was my fuel. Look, there were times I was fueled also by anger, ego, maybe money, but like all of that was failed in comparison to love and passion for the product, for the team, for our mission. And I think that was true for the team. That's why it was such an amazing, you know, few people get to experience this. And I think those who do, it's like nothing else compares when you're really surrounded by this like team that believes in what you're doing and we're on a mission and, you know, highly collaborative and everyone checking their ego at the door and honing in on their craft. It's the greatest feeling. And, you know, it's the bigger companies get, the harder it is to keep that energy. Because keeping that energy on a mass scale is hard. It's easier when it's few people in the room. But that was always the goal in scaling Tinder, was never lose the passion.
How do you figure out you're fueled by ego or anger or, I mean?
Well, I think, how do you know as a human if you're fueled by love or ego? It's a great question. I think you feel it in your body when something feels light and exciting and you're just Saturday night, instead of being with your friends, you want to work on that thing, right? And it puts a smile on your face. And you're not afraid to be honest and you're not afraid to be vulnerable, that feels like love. When you're driven by this need to impress others, when you're driven by a need to reach some status, you know, that's ego. And usually what happens is you get the thing and then you're like, fuck, now what's next? And this doesn't feel good. It's maybe I'm getting a little spiritual here, but I think love is the most powerful force.
Yeah, but
Can't say that enough.
Yeah, I understand. I totally feel you and agree. What I'm trying to understand also is that you're not many people who have been like creating apps like this that changed the world at some point.
Yep.
And in their early 30s, being in that place. I mean, we've seen Zuck or Elon Musk, or I mean, at some point their ego were like, I didn't know you at that time, but it must be very, I mean, even like if we look at soccer in Europe, but it must be the same in basketball or football here. But
success is hard and a lot of people can't take it. Success could break you just as much as failure.
Did you feel that? Were you close at some point?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think when you achieve things and you accumulate things, I think it changes your relationships with other people. It introduces new challenges that there is no like guidebook. You know, there's a lot of books on failure. There's not a lot of books on success, right?
How do you manage success?
Yeah, there's so, you know, I think there's a lot of conversations about how do you deal with failure. There's not a lot of conversations about how you deal with success.
The problem is that that's what I just said. There are less clients, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would be for buying that book probably.
Well, you know, but here's the thing. Success is all relative, right? And love and passion is all relative. You know, like I was telling this to my friends the other day. So I invested in this small coffee shop.
Okay, you can give all names you want here. I'm happy.
I won't give a name but just because I don't want to,
okay.
You know. But so I invested in this small coffee shop recently, which it's not about the money. I mean, I'm not going to make money from, you know. I think it was a good investment, but what excited me was the passion and for the craft of coffee that the founders have. And they want to scale and they want to be big and they want to, you know, go to hundreds of locations eventually. And they're doing something very unique. But I mean, even if they own, and I said this to them the other day, it's like, I'm doing this investment, but even if you're only 3 coffee shops, I'm happy because I'm doing it for the love of you guys and coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily looking to get rich from this. Ironically, I think they're going to go on to do big things and become very successful, and I might make money from the investment. But like, you know, I love doing what you love doesn't mean you have to be Elon Musk, right? Yeah. In fact, by the way, maybe Elon Musk,
sorry.
Yeah, fortunately, yeah, maybe Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg aren't as happy as someone with less responsibilities, right? So, you know, success and money doesn't buy you happiness. That's for sure.
If their coffee is not good, you won't be happy though.
Yeah, and that's craft, right? And that's love, and that's but yeah, that's what matters, is that you love what you're doing at any scale.
So Sean, what do you love about what you're doing right now? What are those products you told us about? What your thoughts? What are your thoughts about AI?
So I have spent a lot, you know, I love creating products. I love America. I'm kind of on the low involved in politics and involved in philanthropy. I have projects where I help different candidates with different things and I have my nonprofit, and I'm involved in a lot of philanthropic work, and I love that, and you know, and I'm building companies, and I love that, and I love my wife, and I love her, and I love spending time with her, you know. So I think I'm blessed. Do I have a lot of challenges in my life? Of course. Any given moment, I'm dealing with, you know, a set of, you know, people at the gate trying to hurt me, or, you know, some crisis or something. But again, it's like, I'm optimistic and I love what I'm doing.
What's that project you were talking about earlier on? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I'll tell you a little bit about it, but we're building a new product. I'll tell you the thesis behind it. I think, it's become increasingly harder to like make plans and go out with your friends. We've all become kind of a little more isolated in digital. And we all felt this during COVID when we couldn't go out. You know, it was like, oh, I'm missing that interaction. And I think there's a real need for a product that makes it kind of like how Tinder took away the barriers to meeting someone under the context of a relationship. I think there needs to be something that makes it easier for me to share experiences with my friends. And that's something I'm building right now.
All right. So I want to go out Tuesday night with them, and depending on their maybe.
It's a little more magical than that.
Okay.
I think it kind of like Tinder just worked magically, and it felt fun, and it didn't feel like work. Building products like that are very hard. So it's a little more magical than that. But yes, I think we all kind of feel a little socially isolated. And to me, you know, you hear a lot about loneliness. Loneliness isn't, I need to make new friends and I have no friends. Plenty of people with a lot of friends feel lonely. You could be in a marriage and feel lonely. So I think loneliness is really about, how do I build deeper connections with my friends? How do I go deeper? How do I experience more? How do I have more fun? And this new company, Spontaneous, is focused on that problem.
Okay. Fighting against loneliness.
Well, I'm less so
Somehow.
we're not directly, it's not about loneliness because that's like a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's more about, you know, bringing people together around experiences.
Clem, yeah.
Oh, what time is it?
No.
We're gonna launch Spontaneous in a few months.
Spontaneous. Okay. Is there a place where I can register,
Not
an email or something?
Not yet.
I'll just follow you on LinkedIn, maybe.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, look, I've built a few companies since Tinder.
it's 4:15. Is it good? We have another 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Or how?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm involved in a variety of different companies that thankfully all are successful. I don't know, for some reason I don't like talking about it because I think part of it is if there's no need, you know, like those companies are doing well, they have a relationship with their customers. Sometimes as a creative, it's easier to build in silence. You know, and keep a relationship just between you and your customers. I think too often companies seek attention from the press or the community when that shouldn't really be the focus. The focus is the people you're serving, and speak to them. And sometimes, you know, that means, you know, do press and, you know, speak to them through podcasts, but I always prefer to speak directly to them.
Yeah, podcast is a good way to speak.
Yeah,
to
it's
them.
podcast. I take it, yeah, of course.
No.
I don't mean,
I'm kidding. But it's true that you have to also let the press come to you more than the other way around sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not the CEO of any company. I'm co-founder of a bunch of companies. I'm not running them. So it's also partially out of respect to the CEOs. I want them to, you know, sort of have their moment to talk about the company. But I love the position I get to be in.
You don't want to be CEO anymore?
I am. I do when the right opportunity comes. You know, I think for me, the calculus, first of all, being a CEO is a sacrifice. It's a little hard for me to go all in on one thing because I'm involved in a variety of things and I have a responsibility to a few things. So it's hard for me to like just make a commitment to one project. But if I had a choice to have kind of like one thing that I pour myself into versus a few things, I probably would pick one if I really could, but I am not in that position.
No, right now. Okay.
There's no, like my happiest moments were when we were building Tinder and scaling that product. There's just no greater feeling. You
talked about earlier about AI at Tinder. You were working on algorithms that were, they were not LLMs, were they? No, but they were very complicated systems designed to
match people, which is very different than LLMs.
Okay. What do you think about those breakthroughs we've seen recently in AI, and how you must have been thinking about their implication on dating? I mean, it could, when you think about it, even just 5 minutes, it's just blows your mind, right?
Well, okay, so I'm going to say something probably surprising. I don't think AI is going to have a huge impact on dating.
All right.
Because so much of dating is about a human experience, and an AI can't change that. Now, could Tinder's algorithms get better? Sure. AI is a technology. It's not a product. This is a thing that I think whenever you have a new wave of innovation, people, mistake the technology as a means to an end instead of, something that enables a new experience. So if you wanted to use AI to build a new experience, you still need to come up with a new experience. And I don't think that AI gives, at least within the dating business, enough of an edge that Tinder or scalable products don't already have. I would say, Tinder has probably pushed the limits of AI, and I'm sure there are things around the margin that Tinder can do in terms of improve the product. But once you start going to this place of like, my AI agent is going to talk to your agent and all that stuff, I'm checked out.
No,
I'm like, that is a sad world. Like, we want to enable humans. We want to enable social interaction, not take it away.
I get it. I was just thinking more of a, knowing people a bit more deeply, and
yes,
and making
in that sense, AI can make the algorithms better and make Tinder better in that sense. But like, we were already on the forefront and have been, and LLMs specifically didn't change that aspect of recommendation engines and whatnot. Now, I do think AI is going to change everything. Like, don't get me wrong.
Except dating.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it'll change some things in dating, but it's going to have much more significant impact in other areas. Starting out with, I don't know how deep you want to go into it. I can talk about AI for hours.
Yeah. Show me, or tell me amazing things you've seen.
Yeah. Well, okay, maybe I'll say
mind-blowing.
Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of things I could say that people have already heard, but maybe one thing that people don't think enough about is one of the biggest implications of AI is that we are, as humans, going to get a lot of our time back. So as we become more productive, and as I can do more at work, and as I can have more of my needs met without effort, I'm now going to have a lot of time. So now the big question for me when it comes to AI is, what do I do at that time? What is that impact? And part of the reason I'm focused on experiences, and first of all, experiences are a massive market, $1 trillion market hasn't really been disrupted. But what do people do when they have more time? They're going to spend more time with their friends. They're going to have more fun. They're going to experience more, hopefully get together, have more meaningful connections. So I think maybe in that sense, Tinder and dating apps are impacted in the sense that maybe I have more time, right, to actually pursue those meaningful things in life. And then I think more broadly, maybe I stop there.
So we invest in golf, pickleball, and that's interesting.
And you're seeing it. I think you've seen this arc where sports have become more valuable, and it's because technology increasingly gives people time back.
We see that in France and around my podcast and the passions we have in trail running, marathon, triathlons. I mean, sports that take a lot of time. I mean, it's growing so
which I love.
big.
I mean, I love to see that. I mean, that's beautiful. We us spending time together, being human, right, and having relationships. Again, that's to me. What else? I mean, what what greater pursuit is there in life? I mean, sure, you could go sacrifice your life and, build a massive company so you get the Ferrari, probably not a good reason. Or you could go do something great because you want to give back to the world and you want to create value. That's a good reason. Or you could just directly impact the people around you and have good relationships and be a good human being. That's also a worthy pursuit. I call that success. All those examples, success.
You said earlier on you loved America.
Yes.
I like that. I mean, it's very rare in France that people say, I love France. That would sound weird sometimes. And I regret
it's become
that.
Weird to say that in America too, unfortunately.
All right. Has it? I didn't.
Yeah, look, I think I think, does America have its faults? Of course. But I think this is the greatest country on earth. No offense to France. I think France is amazing too.
So when we look at the US from France and Europe, I would say at least from France, we see, that passion, that fuel from money. That's a very important fuel we felt here. But we also see, and I love this excitement, this action.
Yeah.
It's like you're fighting, hustling every day.
Yeah, the hustle.
The hustle is amazing.
The hustle.
Yeah, I love it, and I'm like this. I'm a hustler in France, definitely. But at some point, when you go around in cities like New York, in San Francisco, it was terrible. You see those people in the streets. You see, either you succeed big time, or you succeed and it's good, or you don't, and it's hardcore.
Yeah, look, I think the arc of all civilization is for everyone to rise at all levels, right? You want prosperity for everyone. Never want a situation where there's one group that's, very successful and another group that's not. But at the same time, you can't promise equal outcomes because that just never works. So I think it's really up to each individual to go make the most of their lives. And you want to remove all the barriers. So everyone has an opportunity to sort of succeed and achieve on whatever they define as success. And it is true that America is very much a culture that reveres and rewards the hustle, right? And the pursuit and the chase and the action. And sometimes that can get in the way of enjoying just life, right? And I'd like to think Americans are learning how to enjoy life more and evolving. It's a young country, right? France is a much older country.
That's true.
I think things change, evolve, and learn, and companies grow over time, humans grow over time, countries grow over time. But I always go back to those founding ideals. I think the founding fathers of America, although obviously imperfect like all of us, were fighting for something that I think we think was relevant back then, but not relevant now. But it is relevant then as it is now. It's relevant always. Individual freedoms. And you're seeing in America that there's maybe a redefining of what is the American dream, a redefining of maybe a desire to sacrifice individual freedoms for some collective illusion. And that's beautiful and to some degree, but it's also dangerous. It's dangerous when you don't feel comfortable being different because you want to conform. Because if that's the case, you'll never innovate. You stagnate you need to keep evolving. And evolution requires individualism, requires celebrating risk, celebrating Steve Jobs would say, those who think different, the misfits. And America really celebrates that. And we need to continue to celebrate that and not antagonize those who are different.
It's true that some things that must sound weird to you guys here is that in France and Europe, but I'd say in France, some people are don't agree with what you just say. Like, growth is not a good thing. I mean, we should go into degrowth. Would you say that?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
And innovation is not always a good thing. And maybe all of these things are going too far.
Well, I get it. No, and it's like my wife, for example, hates a lot of technology, right? And sometimes, we debate over this, but I think when I say evolve and grow, it's not always technological evolution. But the one thing that is true, and I think you look at the arc of history, if you're not evolving, you're dying.
Mm.
It's true for an individual. It's true for a country. If you're not growing, you're by definition dying.
It's true.
Right? So, I think we need to never be very careful to never antagonize success or never antagonize the pursuit of success, because it's very dangerous to society. And historically, the attempts to do that have always led to poverty for everyone.
Mm.
And that can destroy a country too. So you need economic growth. You need growth in innovation. You need growth of ideas. You need artistic growth, cultural growth. You need growth in every area. And if you don't have it, then it means you don't have a group that cares or feels free to innovate. And that's not a fun, at least to me. I like hanging out with innovators.
I agree.
I like hanging out with philosophers, with thinkers, with idealists and pragmatists, and the whole flavor, every flavor. You want flavor, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah. Before we walked in to the suite we're recording right now, you told we were talking about Y Combinator, YC, and you told me how amazing it was. Weirdly, you grew Tinder here in LA, which sounds weird, actually.
Out of the system.
Yeah, out of the system. And I mean,
not in the matrix.
Do you have more chances to succeed if you're in the Valley, you think? I mean, would you redo it here? Did it bring you some challenges being here?
It's a great question. So I think back when we were creating Tinder, it was different. I think you could have made the argument very clearly that not being in Silicon Valley hurt us. We thought it made us. So actually, it was a blessing in disguise. And the reason is when I left the office and I would talk to people and show them the product, they weren't technical.
Mm.
So the feedback I was getting was
real life
feedback, right? And that allowed us to make the product better and build a product that related to a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
When you're in an echo chamber, you only hear what the echo chamber talks about. And I don't think that's great for innovation. I think diversity and exposure to many ideas is in many industries feeds back into creativity and innovation. So in that sense, we were fortunate. Now, if we were in Alaska, could we have done it? No, LA wasn't that far away from Silicon Valley, and we had a thriving tech ecosystem, and now we definitely do. So I think you can innovate in many, actually, some of the best right now mobile products are being created in Paris.
True.
Some of the best
AI too.
Yeah, AI too. Some of the best technical design consumer, especially teams I've come across are in Paris.
True. Yeah.
So I think the world has changed over the last 10 years, and we've really decentralized innovation. It can happen anywhere, and that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have a book that you would want me to read, or that you would give away to everyone if you had the chance?
Obstacle is the Way.
Obstacle
is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Okay, Ryan Holiday. I haven't read that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that is a must read. Trying to think what's one that everyone would enjoy. That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the
okay.
one that
I like it. I mean, I like the title anyway. I want to.
Yeah, it's
easy
a great
to read. Yeah,
easy to read.
Okay,
phenomenal read.
All right.
Definitely had a huge impact on my life.
if where should we follow you? LinkedIn, X.
I'm
Instagram?
on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm most active on Instagram and X.
Okay, we'll put the links. If you had the chance to meet the young Sean in his first year as at USC and tell him something, what would you tell him?
Fast isn't always the way to get to where you want to go. Sometimes you got to just slow down and be more thoughtful.
You look thoughtful now, but you haven't been always.
No, I think I always was, but I was always when I was younger, I was a little too much go, let's go. I think that's healthy, but I didn't take enough time to actually. Everyone has this problem, by the way, not just me. I think we really need to appreciate that in life you have to take a break and reflect. Sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, and I think when you do that and you can examine, I think you just get better. So really it's about pausing, learning, doing, pausing, learning, doing. I think I did that intuitively, but I would have doubled down with my younger self and said to, pay close attention to that.
That's a good advice. Sean, rad. Thank you very much. Next time you come to Paris, you'll let me invite you for dinner.
Love to.